Sanbonani, Dumelang, Molweni, Avsheni, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Fut-Afrique channel. Today, I have a very interesting talk, and I have a very interesting host today. It's Brian Mofokeng, the person that knows football inside and out. If you wake up from your sleep, this man will tell you anything that happened in 1970s in football. Ndata Mofokeng, how are you? How are you?
Nice to be in conversation with you. You know, the last time we spoke, we were on Space, eh?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's Twitter Space. Yes. I'm like, oh, very wide. And I did not lie in my introduction.
Yeah.
Super happy to be talking about Afcon with you.
Thank you.
36 matches played. Total number of 89 goals. I think that is a really impressive number. There's been so many cries, victories, shocking moments, trending topics centered around this Afcon. Before we dissect everything, what have been some of your highlights just at the beginning of this Afcon?
I tell you, I remember when it all started, we were looking at the favorites.
Yes.
We wanted to go with the favorites. We said, no, Ghana will get through, Senegal will win, Algeria will be there. We mentioned all the big names according to what we know. Little did you know that there's just going to be some drama.
Football is football.
Angola holding Algeria was the first one.
Yes.
When, like, things are changing around this thing.
Yes.
You know? And then Mauritania last game, where we thought they're never going to do it because they never won a game before, defeating Algeria to knock the Algerians out of the tournament. And the coach packs the bag, gone.
Yes.
You know, the Ghana story also was an interesting story.
Yeah.
I mean, Ghana story is the thing that I look at the Ghana story and think somehow coaches are to blame for these things. I mean, Chris Hutton. So you have your first game you play, you lose by 2-1.
Yes.
Come back in the second game, you lead twice, you let go of the lead twice. You come in the third game, you're leading 2-0. Right?
Yeah.
Right in referee's optional time. 90 plus 1 minute, you concede the first goal.
Yeah.
90 plus 4, you concede the second goal. Then you pack your bags, you leave the tournament.
Yes.
You know, who do you blame? The players or the coach? Then you look at the story of Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
Win their first game, everybody celebrating at Alassane Ouattara Stadium. Everybody saying, oh, the stadium name of the president, everybody's excited. Then they play Nigeria in a capacity stadium.
Yeah.
Packed to the rafters. They lose that game 1-0. Then you thought it was noise, they'll come back. They play against Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea saying, Sua, Su. Then they lose 4-0.
And they did just that.
And then when you thought, the coach gets fired.
Yes.
Come match day 3, last games, DR Congo versus Zambia. All Zambia needed was a draw. Zambia lose. And Cote d'Ivoire back in the tournament.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
We've seen champions actually getting eliminated in group stages, which is something which is a shock. I mean, Ghana and Algeria, nobody could have imagined these teams, to be out in group stages. And then we talk about the strength of the technical team in ensuring that you make the right selections and you are not going into a game where you lose, you win, you bottle the match, and then you lose again. Yeah. However, from your own opinion, in terms of the sacking, we saw a couple of teams going through it. It was a trending topic. Is it the timing of it where the coaches are sacked after that loss? Do you believe that's the right time, or do you believe in giving them a little bit of grace, in giving them another opportunity, or you just believe that if you can't do it at this level, let's just quickly change it right now?
It is the hard part.
Yes.
How you get knocked
Yes.
out. That's for me is the biggest part.
Okay.
If you talk about the man in charge of the Gambia, Sandfield comes out and he decides to walk away, but he was already in a tiff with a lot of journalists from Gambia saying, you're coming to embarrass me here. It was already having a fight. You could see that it was coming up.
Yeah.
Cruz Houghton on the other side, in charge of Ghana, the journalists were vying for his blood at the end of the game when he drew the second.
We saw the videos. Yeah.
So already he knew by virtue of being knocked out, because the standard is set so high for a country like Ghana. Gambia having been debutants and getting to the quarters. Already it says a lot. Everybody's expecting to do much better this time around. So already he knew that you could see there was already drama coming up at the start. Tunisia, nobody expected Tunisia to be knocked out in the group stages, because the last time they do so was 2013. They always advance to the next round, even get to the quarters, even semis for that matter.
Yes.
So when you see them getting knocked out this early, it's a problem. Algeria, you're trying to tell me Algeria, since winning the Afcon tournament in 2019, have gone 6 matches without a winner at the Afcon tournament. That's not good at all.
That's a shocker.
You know, and you look at Buneja, the man that scored the goal
Yes.
when they eventually equalized in their match where it was tit for tit. They're fighting so much in that encounter that eventually got a draw. But they lost the last game, which is nobody's going to lose against Mauritania. You had no business losing against Mauritania as Algeria.
Yes.
So the players, the coaches that got sacked and those that walked away, they knew they're not going to survive.
Yeah.
So rather you resign
than wait for getting sacked.
Could you get sacked or goes on the CV to say you got fired?
Yes.
Then
and it's not
news will
great.
come and say he resigned because he's not happy with certain things.
Yes, yeah.
You're saving your
He
face
gives
to
you
go
a little
forward.
bit of justice.
It gives you that.
Yeah.
The only one that I thought was premature was Cote d'Ivoire because you still knew that you might still be able to advance.
Yes.
You know, firing your coach and then you find yourself back in the tournament. You don't have a coach anymore.
Yes.
Then you got to go to the bench with an assistant to come in and take over. It's for me, I think it was a bit premature. They should have allowed the coach to stay on
Yeah.
and then deal with it after the tournament,
Yeah.
especially given the fact that you are the host nation.
Yeah.
But it's football.
Yeah, it is football.
It's a
And
game of emotions, you know that.
100%. And I think you're making a very valid point to say it's the how, you know. I mean, like you mentioned that Algeria had no business in losing, especially looking at the group that they were in, the teams that they were grouped with.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was almost like a given that Algeria was going to win. I want to talk about Tunisia as well, as to you analyzing the matches and looking at their style of play and the number of legs that they had, because they've got exceptional players that we spoke about in the show that we knew are going to be stellars. You know, they're going to be carrying the team. However, it did not, you know, play in the field of play. What do you think, looking at, you know, if you give us an analysis, what went wrong for Tunisia?
Once they lost the first game, already they started in a back foot.
And that's the 3 points you always talk about to say the first match.
One are very important.
Yes.
And also, I think they did not plan against Namibia. They have no idea how Namibia plays.
Yes.
Hence, they were caught out right at the end of the game. Also, remember, Namibia could have actually scored a second goal. One was ruled offside.
Yes.
Correctly so, ruled offside. The second game, they played their game against Mali because they got two structured teams.
Yes.
That's why they're able to get and eventually get a draw in the encounter. The last game against Bafana where I'm sitting, I'm saying, you're playing your last game of the competition. You need to win that game. You've got Msakni sitting on the bench. Msakni is the second highest capped player for your country. He's the third in the top scoring for your country. He has scored in multiple Afcon tournaments since playing in the first one in 2010.
Why are you not bringing him as a super
Why
sub?
do you bring him in as a sub later on? Why don't you start the game with him?
Yeah.
You know? And you have a Sofiani you look at that squad on its own. Look at a Jaziri who went forward, was not giving you anything. But he kept on the field of play for the longest of time. You know, you're looking at Abdi, who made the runs continuously, whipping in one cross after the other, nobody converting them. You know, Laudouni in the middle of a park was trying to hold on to try and get them going forward. They weren't able to do anything with that.
Do you not think perhaps it's that pressure? The pressure of knowing that this is your last game and you have to create a miracle out of this. It throws the boys completely off. And now maybe the players that were there, if it was in the first game, do you not think that maybe that plays a little bit of a role in terms of the pressure that they were feeling?
Coaches will tell you one thing, that they had a plan for all the matches. And I tell the coaches, some coaches are lying. Because if you watch all the matches of this competition, right at the death of matches, technicality went out of the way. Players started playing differently.
Yes.
They're no longer playing the approach that they started the game with.
Yeah.
One, number two, it was now coming from the heart.
Yes.
They played with everything they had.
They played with heart.
In the game against South Africa, Tunisia could have scored a few goals, but they're just not clinical enough to finish their match. They had a chance they created. But they looked very good going forward. Rafia was there looking very good on the right-hand side, getting into the penalty area, trying to whip in across in there. Slimani also played a bit, but he went out of a boil. By the time they brought in a Sleety to try and get things going forward, it was too late.
Especially in the first half, because they had much ball possession in the first half than we did, you know. And in the second half, I think we tried a little bit, but I really feel like Tunisia in the first game, they really could have, you know, gotten away with.
The coach got it wrong.
Yeah.
If I was playing against South Africa, you would know aerially South Africa not very strong. Ali Malul should have started.
Yes.
Because his depth going on a wing and then whipping across him would have been brilliant for the team. They would have scored 1 or 2 goals given that. But they did not do that. They played in the hands of South Africa. Because South Africa therefore said, Pesita will go with them.
Yeah.
Morena, go with them.
Yes.
Pin them back. Don't allow them to go forward. You know, when South Africa made a change, and they took out Khuluso Mudau, was injured. And they're playing a bit rough. I mean, you saw the injury to Khuluso Mudau.
Yes.
You could see the ankle twisting.
Yes, yeah.
And the referee somehow did not pick that up. But over and above that, you look at that and look at the holistic game or the tournament for Tunisia as a whole.
Yeah.
They played in patches.
Yes.
The moment it looked brilliant, the moment you would have found one team. But the North had a bad tournament overall.
Yes.
The northern countries found themselves in a very high altitude. It was very hot. They struggled.
Yeah.
But what Morocco did, I think this is what all the teams from North would have actually learned from Morocco. You don't try and challenge and continue running. You play in patches. You play, hold play, dictate temps, go on a speedy one, get a goal, and then decide to defend. And then you dictate and slow down the tempo of the game. When you're playing teams that are coming from the SADC region or the central region or the west with pace, they're going to punish you.
Yes, 100%. It's finding your strengths. You spoke about the match official just now, and we know with the introduction of VAR, I'm not going to let this topic off. Do you believe that it's come with great advantage for the fairness of the game, for the safeguarding of everything that happens, or do you think we could have done without it?
No, listen, VAR has actually brought a lot of things because there's some decisions which were made, which VAR eventually showed the referee the other side. Because there were some penalties that were awarded by VAR, not by the referee. There were moments where we saw red cards coming out because VAR intervened. There was some moment where VAR could have intervened, but the referee on the field of play said, no, I'm not going to you. Where you realize some really reckless tackles, which could have warranted red cards. But I think over and above that, I think we have to give credit where it's due. This tournament is much better with VAR. The players were more disciplined with VAR in the picture. The decision were made much better with VAR in the picture. But there's some matches where you could have actually seen something different. So VAR, that's why somebody said, and I remember somebody asked me a question in my inbox saying to me, is this the same VAR they're using in Europe? It's the same one. So this one looks much better.
I actually think,
compared to that.
Yes, I actually think I saw the tweets and people were just talking about now this is now Afcon. Like this is so much great, intense action across the world, and I think what you're mentioning is very strong. It's a strong point that you're mentioning to say that we could have had different results. Some teams who did not make it to the top 16 could have possibly made it if we didn't have, the brown envelope situations. We'd have had another Bafana and Ghana situation, So I'm also for VAR. Now, I just want to, step to the next games, couple of games that we're looking forward to. We already saw who's going to be facing who. I just want to know, before I ask you about a couple of teams I'm interested in, just give me 2 matches from the next coming matches that you think are going to be so electrifying, probably produce one of the best football we've ever seen, not in terms of goals, but just in terms of, the competition and the commitment from both sides?
I have to say, I'm not going to go stats on this one. I'm just going to go on what I've seen, what I'm expecting. I believe that the Equatorial Guinea versus Guinea game is going to be exciting, Guineas, because of the fact that you got a top scorer in that game from Equatorial Guinea.
Emilio Lopez.
He plays as a right back for his team in a third tier in Spain. He comes to the national team, he's playing as an attacker.
And he's the top goal scorer for the group stages.
For the first time since 1970, got a player that has scored 5 goals in the group stages.
That is crazy.
And at the time when you had Laurent Poku, who won the stadium is named after, scoring those 5 goals in the group stages. So it has been an exceptional one.
I love that you mentioned him because it's definitely somebody I wanted to ask you about to say, do you see him, extending that goal lead?
Listen, I mean, if you average the goals he has scored in the 3 group stage matches, and you look at the team they're playing is Guinea, and I believe that he can probably go all the way because the last time we had a player scoring 9 goals in a competition, got to go back to 1974. Well, there is some Bulaye. Dyer scored those goals. So since then, we haven't actually had a player that scored 8 goals was scored by Victor. There is Vincent Abubakar in the last tournament. That's one game I'm looking forward to. Another one I'm looking forward to is Cameroon versus Nigeria. Fireworks. These are former champions.
And I think you didn't speak about it enough in the show. And I'm going to give you the platform because I saw your reaction.
No, and I'm telling you, this game is going to be fireworks. One, because if you look at the way Nigeria started. Played their first game, drew in the game against Guinea. Came back, defeated the host nation. Went to the third game, got an own goal, let's go. They won that game. It is how
goal is a goal.
And also, Victor Osimhen hasn't really showed what he can do. That is the reigning football of a season. In Africa. So I'm looking forward to see how that was going to go. Rigobert Song, he does have probably a bone to pick with Nigeria. One. Number 2, I think after what Samuel Eto'o said to the players, there's a statement that came out where he told the players that I think most of you are not born in mother Cameroon. can you please put yourself in a situation where, in the likes of me, who played and died on the field of play, why are you holding back? I want to see if what Cameroon did in the last game of the group stages, where they went out and fought all the way to the end, you know, with a Christopher Waugh scoring the win, the goal that got them through to the next round. Will they have the same spirit they had in that encounter?
Yes.
Where they came back and really fought very hard to eventually walk out victorious in the game. So we'll see how that one will pan out. That for me is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And I believe that the winner of that game surely is going to push and go
all the way. Yeah.
And could probably be the one contenders to win the competition in totality. So
Probably
another one for me would be Angola versus Namibia. Mainly because they're both coming from the COSAFA region. And secondly, because I know both coaches personally.
Okay.
The coach of Namibia, I've engaged, I've seen him. I also know the coach of Angola, Petro Concalves. We chat regularly.
Yeah.
You know? And I've seen the growth of the two countries, their players, from the COSAFA region to grow to where they are at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's a story that I know will be a very interesting one. But then Namibia have never won against Angola in the previous 12 meetings. So the question is, can they do it this time around? Namibia, where I'm sitting, they are great winners.
Yes.
Already managed to win their first game at the Afcon tournament, have gone past the group stage for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's big. Angola, they were a bit of a lull going down for most of the time. They find themselves now back at it again, you know, where they are sitting. And that's a big thing for me as well. Now, the dark horses that you were raving about from day one, Mauritania against Capo Verde.
Yeah.
That battle for me is going to be interesting for one reason. One, Capo Verde have proven beyond reasonable doubt, against all odds, that they are not here to make up numbers.
Yes.
That forget what they did in 2013, that a team that is progressing and growing every time when they do go forward. What makes Capo Verde different is the fact that they've got so many players who were born in other countries, your Spain, your Portugal, who opted to play for Capo Verde. I mean, Bebe, for an example, he was in the same team that the Nannies were. And when Nani and them decided to go, he decided to come and play for Capo Verde.
Yeah.
So he shows exactly the sort of team they have. Ryan Mendes, what a player he has.
Yeah.
You got Pina in the middle of a park. You look at Duarte at the back. You've got Lopez at the back as well. You've got Montero who makes a run on the far side. Vozino, the goalkeeper, brilliant goalkeeper they have in the squad there. So I'm looking forward to that. Tell you one thing, I mean, one other team is South Africa versus Morocco.
I'm very surprised that it's only coming out now, because I thought that probably would be your first interested match. Let's talk about that.
Jess, I gotta know, you know, the heart is there.
Okay, yeah.
So we move it to take it out at the back there.
And we've been hurt too many times, so I get it. I hope you took out your pens and your notes and you're making notes of who Ntate Brian believes is probably going to walk away with victory. But here we're going to bring you all the stats. We are going to be basically dissecting it with Ntate Brian Mofokeng. Unfortunately, I couldn't get time to actually make my notes because it was just so interesting to actually find out about the history of Afcon. But thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful episode. I'm going to be back again chatting to Ntate Mofokeng just to see if his predictions were actually correct.